Good morning, everybody. We are BookHounds. We are live. And today we have author and illustrated author. Hi, Tiffany. Author and illustrator David LaRochelle with us. He's kind of like one of our favorites, so we're really excited to have him here. Okay, we're going to turn this around. Okay. Can you see? It's okay if you can't see. If you guys wouldn't mind sharing, that'd be great. Thank you for sharing, Tiffany. We are going to get started.
We're outside on this beautiful day as well, too.
We are outside. It is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. And my son's locked in the house because he's not feeling so great. And I would prefer not to get our friend here sick. So,
yeah, it's very thoughtful in that regard.
Yeah. Well, where are you going this next week?
I leave Saturday for Michigan.
Okay.
For a school district out there, Rochester Hills.
Ooh.
Every year they have an event called Authors in April.
Oh,
They've
cool.
been doing this for 33 years. They bring out 4 authors. And over 5 days, we visit 15 schools.
Oh, my word.
So 3 schools a day, and...
Do you do the same program at each school? Like a story time, chatting time?
Yeah, and I am visiting just the K and first graders.
Okay.
And then they have Sarah Pennypacker visiting the second and third.
What does she write?
Clementine.
Clementine!
Oh,
we love her.
And she has a new book out that is... just starting at PAX, P-A-X.
Okay.
It's excellent. I'd highly recommend it.
Is it a middle grade novel?
Middle grade novel.
Okay.
And then they're going to have Kate Mesner for 4th and 5th grade.
Okay, her book?
She's done a number of them. She's done a series called Ranger in Time, which is about a time-traveling dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then she's done some beautiful picture books. She did one, I think it's called... It's something like Above and Below, which is about all the things that happen below the surface of the snow during the winter. That's a picture book.
Oh, cool.
It's gorgeous. It's lots of great facts in it. And she's done a lot of middle grade novels as well, too.
Oh, that's cool. So those 3 are the ones you're traveling with?
We'll be meeting there. And the third one is Minnesota's own Margie Price.
Okay, she wrote Samurai...
Yes,
Sword? Heart of Samurai.
Heart of Samurai, and her book that's up for the Minnesota Book Award this year is The Bamboo Sword, so that's how
Okay, yep. So they haven't announced the winners yet?
They announce them on Saturday.
Ooh, that's this coming.
I know.
That's why you leave on Sunday.
No, I leave on Saturday, so I'm so disappointed.
Oh.
I know. I'm especially interested in the Picture Book Awards.
Yeah.
Cause
Moo was up for it, right?
No, that was last
year.
No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah.
Moo's that old?
It is. She's showing her age. She's moving slower now.
That's awesome.
But there's 4 fabulous books from Minnesota authors this year.
Behold the Baby.
Yep, Stephanie Watson.
She'll be on in May.
Yep, so Stephanie's so talented. All her things. Ask her about her acting career and all that. We have Michael Hall's Red.
Yep, The Crayon.
One of my favorite books.
Love that book.
Derek Anderson's, I think it's 10 Pigs in a Bathtub.
Which is the one that's going to be traveling around Minnesota this summer.
And he's already started doing that.
Okay.
So he's out doing his shows at the library. So if you hear Derek Anderson coming to your area here in Minnesota with Once Upon a Reader program, he's got a very fun show. And
he is super fun. Like, he did a story time in May, 5 years ago, and he's just entertaining. He's very entertaining. You won't want to miss him.
Yeah. And then the 4th book, Mike Winutka, who's the illustrated movie, he's got his book that he wrote and illustrated, Dad's First Day.
That book.
It's an excellent book. So it's a tough competition.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering who's going to
I want all of them to
win. I know. So I'm going to be on my computer in my hotel room in Michigan Saturday night, checking the internet every 5 minutes to see who the winner is going to be.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, well, thanks, Tiffany, for the hearts. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're kind of back home right now in my yard.
I am almost walking distance. Well, you could walk to Irondale from here, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I walked to Irondale High School and Sunnyside Elementary School and Edgewood Junior High School. So that's where I went. Looks like I have a star on top of my head there.
You're angelic.
Yeah.
It's the sun just saying hello.
Or my head's on fire as well too.
It might look better than we think, or not. But
so New Brighton is where I grew up.
New Brighton, Minnesota, which is North St. Paul.
Yep. So boy, it's fun to be back here. Roads, my friends live just right in this neighborhood.
That's awesome. So So, we have a new book to show you all. Oh, some of my family's from Irondale, Missouri. Well, Irondale is the name of a town. No, that's what you're saying. Irondale is the name of a high school.
High school.
That's a half mile up the road from us. Yeah. I don't know why they named it Irondale.
I don't know either.
Doesn't really matter.
I think there was an iron foundry at one time in the area a long time ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of history in this area that I don't know. It's a super small town. Well, yeah. Our high school might be bigger than the town.
Back when I was there, my graduating class was 500.
500?
And it's probably gotten bigger since
It's probably bigger than that. So they might be equal. Irondale might be bigger. Who knows? Okay, so let's talk about your new book. Is it been released yet?
I think the release date was like 2 days ago.
Sweet! It was just released on the 12th, which was Beverly Cleary's 100th birthday.
Oh,
Hi, Tara.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That coincidence.
Yeah.
Too. Boy, and she's written, I think my favorite Beverly Cleary book is Dear Mr. Henshaw.
The journal or the lettery one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It still brings tears to my, it makes me laugh out loud, and it brings tears to my eyes as well too.
I haven't read that whole one. I think I've only read like here and there a little bit.
Back when I was a 4th grade teacher, I used to teach 4th grade, I would read that one to my students.
Oh, that's cool.
And then my reluctant readers would get the book and read ahead because they were so interested.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
when you find a book like that, you like hang on to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Monster and Son a little bit.
Monster and Son, yeah. I'm the author, but boy, lots of credit goes to Joey Chu, the illustrator for the book.
He was the one who offered some ideas for monsters, right?
Yeah, well, even more so than that, Joey had drawn several pictures of adult monsters and little baby monsters, and he had sent his artwork, these illustrations, to Chronicle Books out in San Francisco, and they loved his artwork so much that they wanted to have a book with these adult monsters and baby monsters. Joey wasn't interested in writing it, so they asked one of their authors, lucky me, to write something to go along with it, because I had written one other book for them, It's a Tiger.
Oh, yeah, that's right, which we talked about at the beginning of this month, April 1st, we talked about It's a Tiger and how much fun it is, because it's a book that you not only read, but that you are actually experiencing and interacting with the whole time. You don't see that very often.
And the kids can do things with it. So it's a good active storytelling book. Not maybe your best choice for let's be quiet and go to sleep.
Right.
But if it's getting the wiggles out,
right, exactly.
So Joey had done several of these monster illustrations. My editor asked me if I could write something, so I wrote something, and they said, no, that's not what we got. Could you try again, David? So I tried something else. I said, this is closer, but here are things we'd like to change. I changed it, and then eventually it said, okay, looks like we've got it now.
It's a rhyming book. Was it always a rhyming book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
I like those lyrical books.
Yeah, and and editors say all the time, we don't want to hear rhyming books. We don't want to hear rhyming books. And what they don't want to hear is bad rhyming books.
Right.
And my very first book was many years ago, way back 1988. Shows how old I am. 1988. My first book was a rhyming book, and one of the things in the reviews that they pointed out was that it was, clunky in spots and things like that. So it was many years before I ever tried writing another rhyming book.
Right.
Because they're hard to write, and you have to have it go just smoothly.
Yeah.
And when they do, people love them. Good, smooth.
Like Sandra Boynton. Everybody who knows Sandra Boynton loves Sandra Boynton because it's just smooth. Yeah, just like you said.
And it doesn't draw attention to the fact that they're forcing a rhyme here or something like that. And a lot of people think, if I'm going to write a book for kids, I'm going to make it a rhyming book. No.
You don't need to.
You don't need to. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to read the story. I think what I'm going to do is stand over your shoulders so that you're reading it, and then I can show pictures, unless you have it memorized.
I don't yet. I haven't.
And that's fine.
Yeah. But let's see. I am enough of a teacher, as a former 4th grade teacher.
I know, but this camera is kind of funky, so I think we'll do it this way.
So we can go like this? So.
You could, but it'll be funky. So we'll like, come on. There we go. Okay, so I will just stand over your shoulder, and here is David's book.
Okay, should we get it? Is it in the shadow? Is this better?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Always point out to kids the end pages of the book, and the artist is thinking of things even before the story starts. So Joey Chu, the illustrator, has these big monster feet and the little baby monster feet. And if you look, you can tell the monster stopped to draw a monster on the sidewalk with chalk. And of course, one of my favorite parts of the book is always the dedication. And I dedicated this book to Rylan Robert Barnes, who is my great niece. My great nephew. It's a Tiger was dedicated to my great nieces, and Rylan Robert Barnes is my first great nephew.
That's awesome.
And the book goes like so. You woke me with a monstrous roar, my brave and fearless son, and led the way that filled our day with rough and rowdy fun. Our game of catch was wild and fast. Our game of tag was too. You tackled me in tickle fights, and then I tackled you. We galloped through a grassy field, went fishing in a stream. And when it came to making noise, we made a mighty team. The secret hideout that we built was awesome to behold. My face turned red with laughter from the silly jokes you told. You kept a sharp-eyed lookout as you rode upon my back. We worked up mammoth appetites and gobbled down a snack. But now the day has ended and the moon shines overhead. So jump into your jammies and I'll chase you into bed. Your fearsome yawns won't frighten me. I'll hug you strong and tight.
I love that picture.
Then gently tuck you into bed while whispering good night. And that's how the book ends.
And then they walk off.
And they walk the benches.
Are those bats flying away?
No, those are like sort of snow angels. They made like snow monsters there on the ground.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Beautifully designed. Joey's artwork is just lovely. Beautiful for the book.
And he's done things for Disney, right?
He has. He's Disney. And he does lots of signings at Disneyland with the prints for his beautiful work.
Okay, so if you're in that part of the country, you know where to find him.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah, definitely, because they're probably will be priceless one day.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, they are. Go ahead.
And what they wanted from me from the book, for my text, was something that could be interpreted two different ways. It could be just human beings doing this, but they wanted it open so that Joey could interpret it as how monsters would
I was going to ask that.
do these different things. And so the whole project in many ways was different from a lot of books where I come up with an idea and I submit my idea, and this was more trying to do something that they had an idea for already to match up with Joey's pictures.
So were the pictures done? Or no, it was kind of a collaboration together, but not together, physically?
Yeah, we never really worked together. I just saw some images of the type of monsters he had, but his first illustrations never appear exactly in this book. So once he got my story, then he did a whole new set of pictures.
Okay. Yep. So they're similar to what he had done, but they're not the same.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think two of my favorites are, I love the skeletons. And I'm not a skeleton person, but I think they're so super cute in there. Yep. And I love the vampires where he's like pulling down the what's it called? The shade.
Window shade, yes.
Yeah, I love it.
They're going to bed when it's light out.
Yes, exactly. And my mom is making decorations.
Her talented mom.
Yeah,
very
she really is.
Mom.
For a party that we are hosting called Monster Bash, I'm sure you've heard about it. And David is our guest of honor because he will be launching Monster & Son at that party. So what we're excited about is, I commissioned my mom to do, was to make pictures. And she was so funny because in the picture of the vampire, he's pulling it down with like his little fingers here, but you don't really see the rest of the fingers. And so my mom looked at that and was like, "What is that?" I'm like, it's the shade, Mom. He's pulling it down. And she's like, yeah, but what's the square around it? I'm like, his hand pulling it down. It was really funny. She's like, oh, now I see it. It was one of those things where, like, you just couldn't wrap your head around. It was really funny. But when I read this to the kindergarten class that my son is a part of, it got 22 out of 23 thumbs up.
That's pretty good. I'll take that for sure.
And the 23rd, he was just grumpy, so he wasn't going to say anything. But everybody else loved it. And I'm like, isn't this a great book? And you don't have to be scared of monsters.
You know, and I read it to third graders over at a school not far from here, Turtle Lake School.
Yeah.
And I asked them afterwards, I said, well, this is for young kids, and it's got all these monsters in here. Do you think the monsters are too scary for little kids, or not? Do you think they're cute monsters? And the consensus was, yeah, these are cute monsters.
Yeah, they're definitely adorable monsters. Yeah. Even my mom, who's not a monster person, was like, yeah, these are pretty cute.
So I feel very lucky to be once again matched up with an excellent illustrator. I've been pretty fortunate in the past.
Which brings me to ask, you are an illustrator.
I am.
But have you any of your books have you illustrated yourself?
Only one, and it took me about 25 years before I got to illustrate my own first book, and that was Arlo's Outrageous Adventure.
Oh, I love Arlo's Outrageous Adventure.
So it's about a boy who's going to a museum, and then all the pictures and all the artwork comes to life, and there's these flaps that you lift up. There were 50 flaps to make in the book, and I thought, oh, the first book of my own that I illustrated, why did I make it so complicated?
Yeah.
Because all the measuring had to be perfect, because when you open up the flaps, the pictures line up with the background, and then a whole new scene is there. Like the artwork is interacting with the different things in the scene.
I love that book. It's so great. And then you flip open the flaps, and you're like, oh, wow! Because sometimes the artwork is on the back of the flap, reaching over to the next piece of art, and sometimes it's not. You know, like, it's really, I like that book a lot.
Well, thank you. It was a fun puzzle to do, and that was the first book I got to illustrate on my own.
And then you've also done a lot of puzzle work.
I have. I love puzzles. Some of the first things I ever had published were puzzles that I had illustrated for various kids magazines. I think people might be familiar with Cricket magazine, and I did a lot of work for Spider magazine, which is their magazine for kids a little bit younger.
Oh, okay.
They have a whole line of insect magazines,
Yeah.
Ladybug and Spider and Cicada.
Oh, they have Cicada too?
That's for teenagers.
I was going to say, that would have to be a little older.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did lots of puzzles for them, and I did several series of puzzle books as well, too.
Right, and I think we've done your Christmas one and your Halloween one. Yep. They all love them.
Detective Dave, I did a whole series, Detective Dave Mad Mysteries as well, too.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's see here. What has been one or two or three, however many you want to share, most exciting moments?
Most exciting moments.
As for being an author or illustrator?
One of them would be, even though most of my books are picture books, I wrote one young adult novel, which is out of print now, but it was called Absolutely Positively Not. And it won the Sid Fleischman Humor Award. And Sid Fleischman was one of my favorite authors growing up.
What did he write? I can see the name.
He won the Newbery Award for The Whipping Boy.
Yes, okay, yep.
And one of my favorite books of his growing up was Mr. Mysterious and Company, which was about a traveling magician.
Okay.
Because he was Sid Fleischman was a magician himself.
Oh, okay.
And I won the award. It was presented by Sid Fleischman himself. And,
wow.
And he was still alive then. He died just a couple years ago. Like, he was just the nicest guy. And then to have this author that I've admired my whole life, and then win a humor award from him was a big deal.
Oh, wow. That would be really exciting.
So that was a big highlight.
Yeah.
And just a general highlight for me is I do many, many, many school visits throughout the state and actually throughout the country now. But I'll go to some of these schools, and they will have taken my books, and the classrooms will have done all these projects that are on my book. The doors will be decorated, the halls will be decorated with art projects based on my books.
Oh, wow.
And kids will have, like, for the best pet of all, these first graders will write about what they think is the best pet of all. I think a unicorn is the best pet of all because, and they do illustrations. And I think back to when I was a fourth grade teacher reading other people's books in my classrooms, and wow, these teachers and kids are reading my books now.
Yeah.
And it just makes me feel very proud, very happy inside.
That's really cool. That's so cool. He also has had his book read on the White House lawn by Reese Witherspoon, which was The Best Pet of All, right?
Best Pet of All.
That book, it's so great. You don't know what's going on in this book except that someday he's going to get this dragon. Except that's not really what he wants.
Yeah.
It's great.
So another case, they teamed me up with a really, really good illustrator. Boy, her illustrations just make the book. Nako Wakayama.
Yeah.
Her retro style feel to that just puts.
Yeah, when was that one published? That
was published, I think it's a little over 10 years old now.
Is it still in print?
It is.
It's a great story.
Yeah, that's it's still doing well too, so that makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing. That means you've got timeless work, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you worked as, I think when you were talking about illustrating before, when you and I have discussed things, you did illustrating not necessarily for books. Was it mostly for magazines, or am I wrong? I can't remember.
Probably more magazines. I did illustrate some books for other people.
Okay.
Illustrated magazines. I illustrated a newspaper column for Donna Erickson, who does creative family type activities, and she had a syndicated newspaper column that I illustrated for many, many, many years.
Okay. Was that here in Minnesota?
It was no, it still is syndicated nationally.
Okay.
She lives here in Minnesota.
Okay.
And I illustrated a number of her craft books as well too. So I don't illustrate her newspaper column anymore. She has photographs and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. So did Minnesota's Hidden Alphabet, you wrote that one?
Yes.
Or you illustrated? No, the photographs were, that was another pairing up, right?
Yes, and that was the other book. I have that one here too, Minnesota's Hidden Alphabet. Pictures by Joe Rossi. So this is the other instance where Joe had done all these photographs first. They came first. And he took photographs of letters forms you would find out in nature. Which
is really cool. So it's not like it's a bunny and you're learning about a bunny for the letter B. You're looking at what shape is made, what letter shape is made.
So there's a wildflower that he took a photograph. That's a picture of a W.
Yeah, that is really neat.
So there's 26 photographs in here, and Joe said he took 13,000 photographs to get the 26 in the book.
Wow, I don't think I'd have the patience for that.
I don't think so. He said about 18 months he was working on it.
Wow.
But it's a good book, even whether or not you get it. I would encourage people to go out and start looking in nature to find these letters. It's great for a nature walk.
It is.
And take your camera with, and you and your kids can be looking to see, oh, there is a W, there's a Y. And you can take photographs of it. You can see if you can find photographs to spell your name.
Well, that's kind of a trend now. People are buying photographs, like, signs or not necessarily nature things, sometimes nature things, but like fences and things to find letters to. So make your own. You can do your own.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yep. And Joe said the hardest letter he had to find in nature, when he found this letter, he knew he could finish the whole alphabet.
Okay.
The hardest letter was Q.
I was going to say, was it Q?
Yeah, so see if you can find a Q out there.
That is a good scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Q in nature.
Look for a Q in nature. See if you can figure it out.
That's another great thing. Go to school. I've gone to schools, and kids around the school have found their own hidden alphabet of things in their classroom, like the books making a letter N.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Oh, so what did he use for the letter Q?
Okay.
You don't want to go find the book for yourself, huh?
That's.
Although if you're in Missouri, this book might not be there.
It might be hard to find.
Yeah.
First of all, we've got on this P. Here's the first letter he found was the P, the fiddlehead fern.
He could have made that into a Q. If he had turned it the other way, it would have been the lowercase Q.
Yep. And he did do a lowercase Q. It might be hard to see. It was this pattern that he found on the rock.
That's awesome.
So, see if you can find even a better Q than Joe.
See if you can find an uppercase Q.
Uppercase Q.
That would be awesome.
So
that's our summer project this year.
Now, every time I go on vacation, I'm taking pictures trying to find letters of the alphabet.
That's awesome.
But it slows you down. It makes you look at nature. That's just the cool thing about the book.
We just had Mary Casanova on, and she was like, we just need to get out in nature. Like, that's what her book, Wake Up Island, is all about, just enjoying nature. And so that's also this book. We need to enjoy nature.
There's a great book, like Last Child in the Wilderness or something like this, that talks about how kids are not being outside enough anymore, and just all the benefits for kids and adults when we go outside. Right,
that's true. Yeah, we really should just sit for 5 minutes taking it in.
Which we're doing today. This is so nice. We're outside.
You guys, I hope you're outside watching. Just kidding. I know you might not be. You're probably homeschooling, Tiffany. Okay.
Then afterwards, go outside.
Right. For your nature walk, for homeschool. There you go.
And write a poem about what you see outside.
There you go. And it doesn't have to rhyme.
No.
No, I'm on my couch. Okay, so I want to just ask one more question, and then we've got some things to chat about. A whole pile of things to chat about over there. How would you encourage kids or anybody? It's starting to feel a bit better, but still sick. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, take care of yourself. That's what we're doing with Dane. That's why we locked him in the house.
Oh, so someone who's feeling under the weather.
Get better.
Yes.
So, okay, my question is, how would you encourage kids or anybody to pursue their creativity? And especially, or to not give up in pursuing their creativity.
Oh, yeah, that's a very important thing. One of the things I talk about when I go to schools is I bring along my stack of 198 rejection letters.
You do bring that with?
Oh, I do, and I show them to the kids, and I talk about, boy, if I had given up after the first 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 letters, if I had stopped writing, I wouldn't have my 30 different books published.
Yeah, that's true.
I was very fortunate that I had two parents who always encouraged my creativity. Neither of my parents were writers or artists themselves, but every story I brought home from school, every drawing that I did, they looked at and they read, when they would get home from work, and they would put my drawings on the wall or the refrigerator or whatever. So as far as adults, the parents, just looking at what your kids do makes such a huge difference, and you're probably all doing that already.
Probably take a minute and stop and look and find something to appreciate about it.
Yes, yep.
So that they know that you actually are caring about it.
And boy, as an art creator, you want to share your work with someone, so your kids, just that they know they have an audience, that their mom or dad or caregiver is going to look at that picture. It just makes all the difference. You only need that one audience member.
Right. That's true.
The other thing my parents did was they just, for gifts, I got stacks of construction paper and markers and boxes of crayons and scissors and things like that.
We got tape, or not me. For our daughter, we got her 5 rolls of tape.
Oh, I bet you different colors? Or
no, just
regular tape.
Regular tape, and they were used up in a day.
Yeah. No, I would get that masking tape or just scissors or things. Oh, stapler. You own stapler. Wow, that was exciting.
Yeah.
It was. Glue sticks, and then you can just make your own things. And now, I go back a long time, but there's so many cool art supplies out there. There are. But especially I guess I'm a big fan of the open-ended art supplies where you can use it to make all sorts of things.
So you're not saying a kit?
Kit. Well, and I love those kits as well too growing up. But it's also nice to have the ones where you can just create your own thing as well as just color in these certain squares.
Got it.
But both.
That's more of a puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which he creates. So you want those too.
But encouraging whatever that interest is in your child, and just listening to them.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be an expert on the field. It may not be what you're interested in, and that's okay. Just as long as you're paying attention to it. Right.
And another way for adults to encourage each other is, I was just thinking about this. Maybe you don't feel like a creative soul. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't. I was lucky enough to have grown up with a mom who paints murals for fun. But yeah, so and I never felt as creative as she is, but just sitting down and reading and using my imagination, and I still do that as an adult when I've just got nothing. I just will sit down and use my imagination, and then the ideas start flowing, which sometimes is a bad thing, because ideas, once they start flowing, they don't really stop. Until they stop, and I hit a dry spell. But my poor partners, they're like, oh, Gianna, okay, here we go.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Okay, so...
Another thing I'll say about creativity, especially for adults, kids are so good at this, but at a certain age it creeps in, is to turn off that critic that says, oh, this doesn't look good, or I'm trying to draw a dog, it doesn't look like a dog, so I have to stop, or it doesn't look as good as somebody else's.
Right.
Up to maybe 5th grade, 6th grade, that can when it start to seep in, and by adults, then we say, we're not good anymore. Turn off that internal critic. Don't compare yourself to anyone else.
And nobody has to see it.
No.
It's just for your soul. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to your book recommendations. I love book recommendations.
I'm so excited when you asked me to bring along some of my favorites. I had to limit which ones am I going to bring with.
He's got like bookshelves full.
Okay. The ones, and I don't know which ones we'll get to, but we'll start with a couple of my favorite all-time picture books. My first one is Rattletrap Car.
This is one of my favorites.
Isn't it? By local Phyllis Root, who is a master of writing picture books. You can't go wrong with a Phyllis Root picture book.
And they always are illustrated so well. I know she doesn't do them, but they're always illustrated so well.
Right, she has great illustrators. This one is Jill Barton, the illustrator for Rattletrap Car. And sometimes when I teach classes on writing picture books, I use this as my example of an outstanding, perfect picture book because it is so fun to read.
It is so fun to read.
You want to read this book out loud. You just see it, and this kind of shows me how weird I am. But sometimes I will sit on my bed and I will read this book out loud to myself because it is that fun. Just the rhythm of the story. And I've given this book to both of my niece and nephew who have kids, and both of them have said their kids have liked it. But even more important, they said they like reading it to the kids. And it's hard to find those books that the adults like to read and the kids like to read. Won't go wrong with this
Not
one.
at all.
No.
Because it's not a poem book, but there's a rhythm to it. Yeah, I love it.
It's a cumulative rhyme type book. Flippida, fluppida, fizzly, sizzly, wappity, bappity, lumpity, bumpty, clinkety, clanky, bing, bang, pop. They were off to the lake in their rattletrap car. It just goes on. Fun to read.
I love that book. It's a great one.
2 thumbs up, right? 2 thumbs up for this one. There we go. One of my favorite all-time illustrator is Marla Frazee.
She's from here too, isn't she?
No, she's not. No.
Okay.
And do I have the book? No. It's hard to tell with this cover. The roller coaster on there. There's the right way. This is one of my favorite books, but she's illustrated so many other ones. What's one of her recent ones? The Farmer and the Clown?
Her name. I know her name. I just need a book that I've read with her.
She had a Caldecott honor for, I think, This Whole World or This Wide World, which is written by somebody else.
Okay.
But what I love about Marla Frazee's books is her people. They're so expressive. This story, Roller Coaster, is a very simple story about someone riding a roller coaster for the first time. It describes the process of going on the roller coaster. But the magic of this book is it's really a story about these 6 different couples in the book. As you watch them go on the roller coaster and have this experience, each couple has a different story about how they experience this ride. There's this, older couple there with these 2 big tough guys who are on there. There's this mom who is taking her little boy on the roller coaster.
Is that like an older brother and a younger sister or something?
No, that's the father and his little girl.
Okay.
And the little girl, this is her first time on a roller coaster.
And they're in the front?
They're in the front. And, talks about how you have to be so tall. And, some people get out of line on the roller coaster. They decide they want to go back. They don't want to ride it. But once you're strapped in, it's too late, and there they go. And then there's this young couple. It's that's like their first date on there too. And it is so funny, the expressions on their faces and the wide range of emotions these 6 different pairs of people have on the coaster. And of course, the little girl who were kind of falling, who's sort of hesitant. It ends with. Most of the people are dizzy. Some of them have wobbly knees. But at least one of them is planning to ride the roller coaster again. Let me see how some of the people don't look too good. Right now. So she's ready to go back again.
That's great.
You can't go wrong with a Marla Frazee book either, but Roller Coaster is one to study the pictures. Just a joy.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Is there anything else? You still got a pile.
Yeah, we'll do at least maybe 2 more. 2 of my favorites. Do you know this one? Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch?
I've heard of it. Yeah. I've heard of Eileen Spinelli, too.
Yeah, she's done a lot. And she's, I believe, Jerry Spinelli's
wife. I was going to say, is she related somehow?
Yeah,
okay.
So Maniac McGee's author. But she is an outstanding author in her own right. This book happens to be illustrated by Paul Yalowitz. But the story is, let's see if I can read just the first page of it, Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch was tall and thin, and he did not smile.
Okay, just want to stop for a second. Tall, thin, but he does smile.
Yes. Sometimes I can relate to Mr. Hatch. Every morning at 6:30 sharp, he would leave his brick house and walk 8 blocks to the shoelace factory where he worked. At lunchtime, he would sit alone in a corner, eat his cheese and mustard sandwich, and drink a cup of coffee. Sometimes he brought a prune for dessert. So Mr. Hatch is kind of this lonely, keep to himself type guy. And then one day in the mail, he gets this big heart-shaped box of chocolate along with a note that says, "Somebody loves you."
Oh.
And then he's thinking, "Oh, who could have sent this to me?" And he's looking around at all the people he meets, and maybe this person did. And he comes out of his shell, and he starts being friendly, and he starts helping people. He starts doing all these things, and he makes all these friends. Until one day the postman, about a couple of weeks later, comes back and says,
It wasn't him.
"I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
Oh, no.
This wasn't supposed to be your box."
Oh, no.
And he says, "Oh, I've eaten all the chocolate." And so he gives him an empty box, and then the postman, "Do you have the card that goes along with it?" So he gives him the card back, and it's just, and he goes back to being this quiet person.
Oh.
But he has all these friends then who then, well, and that's the story. But when he's no longer around, they all wonder, well, what happens to Mr. Hatch? And the last line, it tears me up every time. So he had gotten the card, "Somebody loves you, Mr. Hatch." At the end, he walks out of his house and this party, everybody loves Mr. Hatch.
Oh, that's so great.
It is. It's a wonderful good feeling book without being too I don't like the real sentimental books, but this is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. Okay, let's do one more.
One more. Good. And this is again maybe one you have not heard. Have you heard of How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I love this book. It is by Marjorie Priceman. She's a great illustrator, but this one she also wrote. And it talks about, I'll read just the first page. Making an apple pie is really very easy. First, get all the ingredients and at the market. Mix them well, bake, and serve. But, and then it says, unless, of course, the market is closed. And then the rest of the book is this young woman's, she travels all around the world to get all these ingredients. So she goes to like Sri Lanka to get the cinnamon.
Okay.
She goes to Italy to get the wheat. She goes to France to get, I think, the milk or from the cow. So she travels all the world in the world. So it's a good geography lesson to get all these ingredients. She brings them home and she makes the apple pie.
Oh,
and then
awesome.
she says, "Yep, and apple pie is great served with ice cream. All you have to do is go to the market." Unless the market is closed. And then just serve it plain. So, can't miss with this book. Those are 4 of my favorites.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so great.
Thank you for letting me share. I love talking about my favorite books. So.
We can talk. You can come over and talk about books anytime you
and
want.
read books. Oh, I love to. I miss having my students. I don't get to read.
Did you read all the time?
I read every day. And that's so sad that teachers now struggle to find time to read to their kids. And that was the most successful thing I did as a teacher. The easiest thing I did and the most successful thing I did was reading to my kids, who still, 30 years later, send me emails saying they remember the books that I read to them.
I remember 6th grade, after lunch, my 6th grade teacher, who was my absolute favorite teacher, he read every day, as far as I can remember, after lunch. And I remember The Sign of the Beaver. I would have never listened to or read that book if it hadn't been for him. Yeah. So, I think it's important. 2nd
grade, one of my teachers read Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
I remember that. And we had a student teacher who read us the sequel to The Wizard of Oz. So not the first book in the series, but the second one, which doesn't even have Dorothy in it. It has a different character.
Well, they're in Oz, but she's already back.
Yeah,
right?
She's already back. So it's got the Scarecrow and it's got the lion, but it's about this young boy. I think Tip was his name.
Okay. My family just finished The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Okay. It was a great read.
It is.
And it was not that different from the movie. You won't be like, oh, I can't even picture this if you think about the movie. But it's enough different that you know that it's better.
Yeah, it's got more. Try reading something else in the series, because there's 15, 20, 25 books
Yeah,
in the
that's true.
series.
And they're easy reads. I didn't think they would be, but they were really easy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I remember I read them as a kid. I read a number of them as a kid.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Enjoy the sunshine.
Yes, if you guys have any questions, you can find us on our Facebook page, BookHounds, Facebook page, FFTC BookHounds, or Twitter, all that jazz. So if you have any questions, let us know in one of those groups or on Twitter. Did I say that already? Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun, and we'll have to do this again.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.